This call is now being recorded.
Okay, good morning. So we are discussing the last class about the different powers and functions of chief minister and mm, so അത് കഴിഞ്ഞു. Next one about the council of ministers. But in all the state there will be a set of council of ministers, അല്ലേ? Council of ministers of the state in the those who are elected from the this legislative assembly. So these Council of Ministers, headed by the Chief Minister, is the real executive authority in the politico-administrative system of a state. അപ്പോൾ ഈ പറയുന്ന പൊളിറ്റിക്കൽ സിസ്റ്റത്തിൽ ചീഫ് മെയിൻ ആയിട്ടുള്ള അതോറിറ്റി പറഞ്ഞ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ റിയൽ എക്സിക്യൂട്ടീവ് അതോറിറ്റി പറയുന്നത് ചീഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ ആൻഡ് ദി കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ്. In Article 163 deals with the State Council of Ministers, and Article 164 deals with the appointment, tenure, responsibility, qualifications, oath and salaries and allowance of the ministers. ഈ സാലറീസും അലവൻസും എല്ലാം ഓൾറെഡി ഈ പറയുന്ന കോൺസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷനിൽ പരാമർശിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. എത്രയാണെന്നല്ല, എങ്ങനെയാണ് കൊടുക്കേണ്ടത്. സോ ബേസ്ഡ് ഓൺ ദി പാർലമെന്റ് ഡിസിഷൻ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ടേക്കിംഗ്. ഓക്കെ. ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ 166 is related to the conduct of business of a government by the Council of Ministers. എന്തൊക്കെ രീതിയിലുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഈ പറയുന്ന കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ചെയ്യേണ്ട കാര്യങ്ങളുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ടതാണ് ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ 166 പറയുന്നത്. ആൻഡ് ആർട്ടിക്കിൾ 167 ഡീൽസ് വിത്ത് ദ ഡ്യൂട്ടീസ് ഓഫ് ചീഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ വിത്ത് റെസ്പെക്ട് ടു ഫർണിഷിംഗ് ഇൻഫോർമേഷൻ ടു ദി ഗവർണർ. സോ വാട്ട് ഓൾ ഇൻഫോർമേഷൻ ദി ചീഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ നീഡ് ടു furnish in front of the governor. So regarding that, it is discussed in the, or it is mentioned in the Article 167 of the Constitution of India. A constitutional provision. There shall be a council of ministers with the chief minister as the head to aid and advise the governor in the exercise of his function. So the duty of the this council of ministers headed by the chief minister is to take administrative actions or executive actions on the state for its welfare, for its social, economic welfare and all. Okay, so their main function is to advise the governor in exercise of these functions. So the advice tendered by ministers to the governor shall not be inquired into any court. The chief minister shall be appointed by the governor, and the other ministers shall be appointed by the governor on the advice of the chief ministers. That all we already know that governor is appointing the chief minister and the governor is appointing other ministers based on the advice from the chief minister. So these executive members or these chief minister and other council of ministers are the ones who are really administrating the state, and their duty is to aid and advise the governor in exercising of their functions or the function of the governor. The total number of ministers, including the chief minister, shall not exceed 15% of the total strength of the legislative assembly of that state. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു സ്റ്റേറ്റിന്റെ ടോട്ടൽ സ്ട്രെങ്ത്തിന്റെ സ്റ്റേറ്റിന്റെ ലെജിസ്ലേറ്റീവ് അസംബ്ലി സ്ട്രെങ്ത്തിന്റെ 15% കൂടുതൽ മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ടാവാൻ വേണ്ടി പാടില്ല. ബട്ട് ദ നമ്പർ ഓഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ഇൻക്ലൂഡിംഗ് ചീഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ഇൻ എ സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ഷാൽ നോട്ട് ബി ലെസ് ദാൻ 12 ഓൾസോ. So there should be more than 12 ministers, including the chief minister in a state. So minimum 12 ministers should be there. Then the ministers shall hold office during the pleasure of the governor. Okay, so the term of the minister should be is decided by the governor. The council of ministers shall be collectively responsible to the state legislative assembly. Okay, so these council of ministers are having certain individual responsibilities. Also, they are having certain group or collective responsibilities also. The governor shall administer the oath of office and secrecy to a minister. So, like the chief minister, like the chief ministers or the oath of the ministers are also administered by the governor. A minister who is not a member of the state legislature for any period of 6 consecutive months shall cease to be a minister. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു മെമ്പർ അല്ലാത്ത ഒരാൾ മിനിസ്റ്റർ ആയാൽ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മെമ്പർഷിപ്പ് എങ്ങനെയെങ്കിലും ഡിസ്ക്വാളിഫൈ ആയാൽ വിത്തിൻ 6 months അയാൾ വീണ്ടും മെമ്പറായിട്ട് വരണം. അതർവൈസ് ദാറ്റ് വിൽ ബി ഡിസ്ക്വാളിഫൈഡ്. ഓക്കെ, The salaries and allowance of the minister shall be determined by the state legislature. ഈ പറയുന്ന സഭ തന്നെയാണ് ഇവരുടെ അലവൻസസും സാലറീസും തീരുമാനിക്കുന്നത്. All executive actions of the state government shall be taken in the name of the governor. It is the duty of the chief minister to communicate all decisions to the council of ministers relating to the administration of the state and proposals for registration to the governor. So, chief minister is actually acting as a bridge between the governor and the council of ministers. Every minister shall have the right to speak and take part in the proceedings of the legislative assembly or the legislative council and any committee of the state legislature. Actually, in Kerala only there is only a legislative assembly, but in some states like Karnataka, like Andhra Pradesh, some states there are legislative assembly as well as legislative council. So legislative council is another body made from the members of this legislative assembly. So that is they are one of the prime most team who is the deciding factor in the legislative assembly. That is the legislative council. Okay, that will be a smaller body, but it is that body, that members of that body is elected from the legislative assembly itself. So നമ്മൾ state legislature അല്ലെങ്കിൽ state legislature നോക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മളത് ഡീറ്റെയിൽ ആയിട്ട് നോക്കുന്നതായിരിക്കും. Nature of advice by ministers. Article 163 provides. Article 163 provides. One second. Article 163 provides for a council of ministers with the chief minister as the head to aid and advise the governor in the exercise of his function except the discretionary ones. Okay, already പറഞ്ഞതാണ്. The nature of advice tendered by ministers to the governor cannot be entered by any court. Okay, so the judiciary has no role in the nature of advice given by the ministers to the governor. This provision emphasizes the intimate and confidential relationship between the governor and the minister. So, that reflects the confidentiality between the relation or the relation between the governor and the council of ministers. A council of ministers must always exist to advise the governor even after the dissolution of the state legislative assembly or resignation of the council of ministers. Hence, existing minister may continue in the office until its successor assumes charge. ഇപ്പോൾ ഏതെങ്കിലും കാരണവശാൽ സഭ പിരിച്ചുവിടുകയോ കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ റിസൈൻ ചെയ്യുകയോ ചെയ്താൽ പോലും നെക്സ്റ്റ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ വരുന്നവരെ ഈ കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ ഈ വേണ്ട കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഇതിന്റെ നിർദ്ദേശങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഗവർണർക്ക് കൊടുക്കേണ്ട ഉത്തരവാദിത്വം അയാളുടെ ചുമതലയാണ്. ഓക്കെ. Appointment of minister. The chief minister is appointed by the governor. The other ministers are appointed by the governor on the advice of the chief minister. This means that the governor can appoint only those persons as ministers who are recommended by the chief minister. But there should be a tribal welfare minister in Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Odisha. So Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha ന്റെ കേസിൽ ഈ മൂന്ന് സ്റ്റേറ്റിന്റെ കേസിൽ മാത്രം സെപ്പറേറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് there is a tribal welfare minister post. Okay, so there should be a tribal welfare minister post. Usually the member of the state legislature are appointed as minister. A person who is not a member of either house of the state legislature can also be appointed as a minister. So either house എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, in case of Kerala there is only one house, that is state legislative assembly. But in some states which like I have told before, there are two houses. One is state legislative assembly and second one is state legislative council. Okay. അപ്പോൾ ഈ രണ്ട് ഹൗസിലും മെമ്പർ ഇല്ലാത്ത ഒരാളെയും മിനിസ്റ്റർ ആയിട്ട് തിരഞ്ഞെടുക്കാം. But within 6 months he must become a member of either house of the state legislature, otherwise he ceases to be a minister. Okay, so within 6 months എന്താവണം, മിനിസ്റ്റർ ആയിട്ട് മാറണം. Otherwise he will cease to be a minister. A minister who is a member of one house of the state legislature has the right to speak and to take part in the proceedings of the other house, but he can vote only in the house of which he is a member. അപ്പോൾ അതത് ഹൗസിൽ മാത്രമേ വോട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി പറ്റും, but he can take part in the proceedings of other house also. But in our Kerala, in our case, there is only one house, state legislative assembly. Oath of ministers, like the chief minister and other executives in the center, or like the ministers are also having oath. In this oath of office, the minister swears to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India, to uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, to faithfully and carefully discharge the duties of his office, and to do right to all people in accordance with the Constitution and law, without fear and favor, affection or ill will. നമുക്കറിയാം ഈ ഓത്ത് എല്ലാ ലെജിസ്ലേറ്റീവ് അസംബ്ലിയിലേക്ക് വരുന്ന മെമ്പേഴ്സും നടത്തുന്ന ഓത്താണല്ലേ. മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സിന്റെ കേസിലുള്ള കാര്യമാണ് ഇവിടെ പറയുന്നത്. Then regarding the responsibility of the ministers, they are having two types of responsibilities. One is collective responsibility and second one is individual responsibility. So what are the collective responsibility of ministers? Article 164 clearly states that the Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the State Legislative Assembly of the state. So they are having collective as well as individual responsibilities. So all the Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to this State Legislative Assembly. This means that all the ministers on joint responsibility to the Legislative Assembly for all their acts of omission and commission. So അതിൽ ഏത് രീതിയിലുള്ള അവരുടെ അഭിപ്രായങ്ങളും അതൊക്കെ അവരുടെ എന്തായിരിക്കണം, കളക്റ്റീവ് റെസ്പോൺസിബിലിറ്റി ആയിരിക്കണം. ദേ വർക്ക് ആസ് എ ടീം ആൻഡ് സീം വർക്കിംഗ് ടുഗെദർ. സോ എപ്പോഴും അവിടെ ഒരു ടീം വർക്കിൽ മാത്രമേ മുന്നോട്ട് പോകാൻ വേണ്ടി പറ്റൂ. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു ഡിഫറൻസ് ഇൻ ഒപ്പീനിയൻ വന്നാൽ ആ മിനിസ്റ്ററിനെ സ്വാഭാവികമായിട്ട് രാജിവെക്കാനോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ പിരിച്ചുവിടുകയോ അതുപോലത്തെ നടപടികൾ ഉണ്ടാവും. സോ വെൻ ദ ലെജിസ്ലേറ്റീവ് അസംബ്ലി പാസസ് എ ഓൺ കോൺഫിഡൻസ് മോഷൻ അഗെയിൻസ്റ്റ് ദ കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ്, എന്താണ് അവിശ്വാസ പ്രമേയം പോലുള്ള സാധനങ്ങൾ, ഓൾ ദ മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ഹാവ് ടു റിസൈൻ. Okay. Alternatively, the Council of Ministers can advise the governor to dissolve the Legislative Assembly and call for a fresh election. That is also possible. അപ്പോൾ അതുപോലെ അവിശ്വാസ പ്രമേയം പാസ്സാക്കിയിട്ട് എന്താണ് ഈ പറയുന്ന മന്ത്രിസഭ പിരിച്ചുവിടാൻ വേണ്ടി പറ്റും. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സിന് ഗവർണറിനെ അഡ്വൈസ് ചെയ്യുക, എന്താണ് നിലവിലുള്ള സഭ പിരിച്ചുവിട്ടിട്ട് പുതിയ election പ്രഖ്യാപിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി. The principle of collective responsibility also means that the cabinet decisions bind all cabinet ministers and other ministers even if they differ in the cabinet meeting. Okay, so in case of our state, Council of Ministers and cabinet ministers same ആണ്, cabinet തന്നെയാണ്. But in some bigger states and all, there will be separate cabinet ministers. So there will be in the total ministers, if there are some 50 ministers in a state, out of that some 20 or 25 will be cabinet ministers. Okay, others will be having only assisting duties. Some state ministers, there will be individual responsibility for some ministers. Some other state ministers will be having only assisting duty of this cabinet ministers. So cabinet decisions follow ചെയ്യാനാണ് Council of Ministers ന്റെ responsibility. It is the duty of every minister to stand by the cabinet decision and support them both within and outside the state legislature. If any minister disagrees with the cabinet decision and is not prepared to defend it, he must resign. So the cabinet decision is the final decision-making authority in a state. So it is the duty of all the ministers to to support this cabinet decision, whatever if he is individually, personally disagreeing that or agreeing that. It is his responsibility to agree with that. So if any minister disagrees with the cabinet decision and is not prepared to defend it, then he must resign from the post of the minister. Several ministers have resigned in the past owing to their differences. So അതുപോലത്തെ ഒരുപാട് ഹിസ്റ്ററീസ് നമ്മുടെ രാജ്യത്തുണ്ട്. Then they are also having individual responsibilities of the ministers. So collective responsibility on Article 164 also mentions about the principle of individual responsibility of the minister. It states that the ministers hold office during the pleasure of the governor. So governor is the one who is appointing the ministers, and he is the one who is asking the minister to register based on the advice taken from or the recommendation taken from the chief minister. So ഗവർണറിന്റെ ഒരു പ്ലഷറിലാണ് അയാളുടെ ഓഫീസ് കാലാവധി നിശ്ചയിക്കപ്പെടുന്നത്. This means that the governor can remove a minister at a time when the Council of Ministers enjoys the confidence of the Legislative Assembly. Okay, but a governor can remove a minister only on the advice of the Chief Minister. In case of difference of opinion or dissatisfaction with the performance of a minister, the Chief Minister can ask him to resign or advise the governor to dismiss him. So ഇവിടെല്ലാം സംഭവിക്കുന്നത് the governor is the one who is appointing or the dismissing a minister, but the governor can do it only based on the recommendation from the chief minister. Okay, so if in case of any difference in opinion raising by any minister based on any type of cabinet decision, or any dissatisfaction happening, or any difference in opinion is happening with the performance of a minister, then the chief minister can ask him to resign or advise the governor to dismiss him. Okay, So by exercising this power, Chief Minister can ensure the realization of the rule of collective responsibility. Okay, so it is the collective responsibility of all the ministers uh, to support the decision taken by the council. Okay, so even there is any personal disagreement, it is his duty as a minister to support it. Otherwise, he need to resign from that if he is having any difference in opinion. Then composition of the Council of Ministers. അപ്പോൾ ഈ പറയുന്ന Council of Ministers ആരൊക്കെയുണ്ട് അതിന്റെ composition ആണ് അടുത്ത് നോക്കുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, before the salary of ministers എല്ലാം ഉണ്ട്. Composition. The constitution does not specify the size of the state council of ministers or the ranking of ministers. Okay, അത്തരത്തില് there is no such things anything in the mentioned in the constitution. They are determined by the chief minister according to the exigencies of time and requirements of the situation. The council of ministers consists of three categories of ministers, namely cabinet ministers, ministers of state and deputy ministers. നമ്മളെ കേസിൽ എന്താണ് ഇവിടെ മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ഓഫ് സ്റ്റേറ്റ്സ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ക്യാബിനറ്റ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് സെയിം ആണ് രണ്ടും. ഓക്കെ, but in bigger state there will be three categories like cabinet ministers, ministers of the state and deputy ministers. The cabinet ministers will be the chief main head or the main ruling ministers. The ministers of the states will be, they will be having some individual separate responsibilities. ഏതെങ്കിലും ചില വകുപ്പുകൾ മാത്രമേ ഉണ്ടാവും. ക്യാബിനറ്റ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സിന് ഒരുപാട് വകുപ്പുകൾ ഉണ്ടാവും. Okay, deputy ministers will be having, which they will be mainly assisting the cabinet ministers. Cabinet ministers ഒരുപാട് വകുപ്പുകളിൽ ചിലത് മാത്രം deputy post പോലുള്ള ministers are deputy ministers. Okay, the difference between them lies in the respective ranks, emoluments and political importance. The chief minister is the supreme governing authority in the state. The cabinet ministers head the important department of the state government like home, education, finance, agriculture and so forth. They are members of the cabinet, attend its meeting and play an important role in the deciding policies. The ministers of state can either be given independent charge of departments or can attach to cabinet ministers. അപ്പോൾ അത് മനസ്സിലായല്ലോ. Composition of the council of ministers. What are the different people will be there in the council of ministers? അതിന്റെ composition തന്നെ ingredients പോലെ അതിൽ ആരൊക്കെയാണ് ഉള്ളത്. So അതിൽ three types of ministers are ഉള്ളത്. One is cabinet ministers, second one is minister of state and third one is deputy minister. So cabinet minister means it is a supreme governing authority, the one who plays an important role in the policy making or deciding policies. Okay, main ആയിട്ട് വരുന്നതാണ് home, education, finance, agriculture. ഈ വിഭാഗത്തിൽ പെടുന്ന വകുപ്പുകൾ നോക്കുന്ന മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ആണ് cabinet ministers-ലേക്ക് വരുന്നത് അല്ലേ. That is some important departments will be given to this type of cabinet ministers. Other ministers means the ministers of state. They will be giving to separate some certain one department to govern. They are called minister of state, and deputy ministers, they will be attached to this cabinet ministers. They will be having an assisting duty of these cabinet ministers. Okay, in Kerala it is not like that. All cabinet ministers, all ministers equal importance. In bigger states and all, there will be this type of different categories of ministers. However, they are not members of the cabinet. The other ministers, like deputy ministers and ministers of state, they are not members of the cabinet and do not attend the cabinet meetings unless specially invited and something related to their departments are considered by the cabinet. So in cabinet meeting will be always it will be it include only the cabinet ministers. Okay, and other ministers will be only specially invited if the discussion is about their departments or relating to their departments. Next in rank are deputy ministers who are not given independent charge of department. They are attached to the cabinet ministers and assist them in their administrative, political and parliamentary duties. The duty of the deputy ministers are they are not given any individual department. Their duty is to assist the cabinet ministers. They are not members of the cabinet and they do not attend cabinet meetings. At times, the council of ministers may also include a deputy chief minister. So some states and all, we can see that there will be deputy chief ministers. Like the vice chief minister എന്നെല്ലാം പറയുന്ന പോലെ അതുപോലെ ഇപ്പോൾ തമിഴ്നാട്ടിലൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് കാണാം there is a deputy chief minister. In many states, bigger states, there will be a deputy chief minister post also. In Kerala, there is no such post. The only post is chief minister. The deputy chief minister is appointed mostly for local political reasons. Local political reasons are because if the government is a coalition government, there will be two parties. Okay, both will be having equal majority. Then the one party member will be the chief minister, other party member will be the deputy chief minister. Or sometimes in Maharashtra, we know that the Congress is having the more number of seats. But Shiv Sena is having amount of seats. So with the coalition with the Shiv Sena only, the Congress is forming the government. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് എന്താണ് ചീഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റർ കാൻഡിഡേറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ശിവസേനന്റെ ആളെ എടുത്തിട്ടുള്ളത്. So likewise, there will be two posts in such cases. ഇത് local political reasons കൊണ്ടാണ് അങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടാകുന്നത് deputy chief minister post. Okay, next one is cabinet. So what is a cabinet? Now I already discussed about the cabinet ministers and all. So it is an advisory body to the governor, and it is a smaller. This cabinet is a smaller body, which is a nucleus of Council of Ministers. So in that the members will be from the Council of Ministers itself. It consists of only the cabinet ministers. It is the real center of authority in the state government, which performs the following functions. What are the different functions of the cabinet? ഓർത്ത് നോക്കുക, കേരളത്തിൽ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു സെപ്പറേറ്റ് ക്യാബിനറ്റും സെപ്പറേറ്റ് കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സും ഇല്ല. ഒറ്റൊന്ന് മാത്രമാണ് ക്യാബിനറ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ഈ എല്ലാ മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സും അതിൽ ഇൻക്ലൂഡഡ് ആയി. എല്ലാ കൗൺസിൽ ഓഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സും ഈ ക്യാബിനറ്റ് അംഗങ്ങൾ തന്നെയാണ്. സോ വാട്ട് ആർ ദി functions of this cabinet? It is the highest decision making authority in the politico administrative system of a state. It is the chief policy formulating body of the state government. It is the supreme executive authority of the state government. It is the chief coordinator of the state administration. So, main government policies ഒക്കെ decision ചെയ്യുന്നത് cabinet മീറ്റിംഗിലൂടെയാണ്. Okay, it is an advisory body to the governor. It is a chief crisis manager and thus deals with all emergency situations. It deals with all major legislative and financial matters. It exercises control over higher appointments like constitutional authorities and senior secretariat administrators. അപ്പോൾ നോക്കിയ ഒരു ഗവൺമെന്റ് എക്സിക്യൂട്ടീവ് ബോഡിയിൽ ഏറ്റവും ഹയർ അതോറിറ്റി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ചീഫ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ആൻഡ് ദിസ് ക്യാബിനറ്റ് മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ്. ക്യാബിനറ്റ് പദവിയിലെ ആൾക്കാരാണ് എല്ലാ പോളിസീസിന്റെ ഫൈനൽ ഡിസിഷൻസ് എടുക്കുന്നത്. ആൻഡ് അതർ മിനിസ്റ്റേഴ്സ് ആർ only given certain departments that they are not included in the policy making of the state. Okay, so they will be only discussing the policies or the frameworks which is put forward by the cabinet ministers in the cabinet meetings. Okay, so it is a responsibility of all other ministers to support the decisions taken by the cabinet ministers, even if he is having any personal or individual disagreement. Okay, it is a duty of the this person to support the decision made by the cabinet. So next one is cabinet committees. The cabinet works through various committees called cabinet committees, which are standing committee and ad hoc committee. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ കുറെ committees ഉണ്ട്. The standing cabinet committee is of a permanent nature, but the ad hoc cabinet committee is of a temporary nature. So the permanent committee that is called standing committee. There is a temporary committee which is called the ad hoc committee. These committees are set up by the chief minister according to the exigencies of time and requirement of the situations. Okay. So ഈ കമ്മിറ്റി എന്താണ്? ചിലപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ചെറിയ ചെറിയ കമ്മിറ്റികളായിരിക്കും, മീൻസ് ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ്, ചിലപ്പോൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും രീതിയിൽ അന്വേഷണമോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്തെങ്കിലും രീതിയിൽ സെപ്പറേറ്റ് മീറ്റിംഗ് വെക്കാനോ ഇതുപോലെ 2 കമ്മിറ്റികൾ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. These committees not only sort out issues and formulate proposals for the consideration of the cabinet but also take decisions. However, the cabinet can review the decisions of various cabinet committees. So separately inside the cabinet itself there will be 2 types of committees. One will be a standing committee and second will be an ad hoc committee. So these committees will take separate decision by that committee members, but whatever the decision taken by them will be scrutinized by the cabinet in the cabinet meetings. Okay, അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ 2 cabinet committeesഉം ഉണ്ട് എന്നുള്ള കാര്യം ഓർത്ത് വെക്കുക. Next one is so that is all about the cabinet, council of ministers and all. So today we have discussed about the first one is the in this chapter first one is the about the this module is about the state governing machineries അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ഗവൺമെന്റ് മെഷീനറീസ് ആണ് നമ്മൾ നോക്കുന്നത്. So it includes the executive, state executive, it includes the state legislature, it includes the state judiciary. Okay, So right now we are discussing about the state executive. So state executive includes first one the governor, second one the chief minister, third one the council of ministers. Okay, so in that the council, so each of these executive members are having their own powers and functions. So coming to the council of ministers, it depends on different states. The number of ministers will be different in different states. In the case of very bigger states and all, there will be separate cabinet ministers. Okay, in the case of Kerala, there is only the cabinet ministers or the council of ministers themselves, because there are only 19 ministers in our state. Some other bigger states there will be too many number of ministers, and out of that, some 20 to 25 ministers will be collectively, they will be the cabinet ministers, and they will be given the very important post or important departments. And other ministers which functions are the state ministers and the deputy ministers. They will be attached to these cabinet ministers, and or they may given certain individual departments to govern. So this cabinet is the primemost body who are taking the decisions in certain policy or government policies are the main decisions in the government policies are taken by these cabinet ministers. And again, in cabinet there are two committees. One is the standing committee, and second one is an ad hoc committee that is formulated by the chief ministers. And they will be giving certain duties and tasks which can be performed individually. And those decisions made by them, those reports will be again taken in the cabinet meetings, then only it will be finally approved. And also, in the case of Council of Ministers, it is a duty of all, each and every Council of Ministers to approve or agree with the decisions taken by the cabinet. Okay. And again, we have discussed about the different qualification requirement to appoint as a governor or a chief minister or a council of ministers. And regarding the voting and procedures, we all know well about the voting and the different procedures. Mm. In the case of legislature, we will come detail about the different legislature and judiciary in the coming slides. So before that, one more executive is there, that is the Advocate General. So like the Attorney General of the country or to the union or the state, sorry, at the center, there will be an Advocate General for each state. So it is discussed in the or mentioned in the Article 165 of the Constitution. So Article 165 deals with the Advocate General for the state. So the governor of each state shall appoint a person who is qualified to be appointed a judge of a high court to be Advocate General for the state. So it is the duty of the governor of each state uh, to appoint a person who is having the qualification of a judge of high court as an advocate general. Advocate general ആയിട്ട് നിയമിക്കുന്നത് ആരാണ്? ഗവർണറാണ് നിയമിക്കുന്നത് based on the qualification. ഒരു ഹൈക്കോടതി ജഡ്ജ് ആവാൻ ക്വാളിഫിക്കേഷൻ ഉള്ള ഒരാളെയാണ് എന്തായിട്ട് നിയമിക്കുന്നത്? അഡ്വക്കേറ്റ് ജനറൽ ആയിട്ട് നിയമിക്കുന്നത്. It shall be the duty of the Advocate General. So there may be a question may be asked to your exam. What are the duties of the Advocate General in a state, or what are the duties of the Attorney General in the country? അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ചോദ്യം വരാം. So it shall be the duty of the Advocate General to give advice to the government of the state upon such legal matters and to perform such other duties of a legal character as may from time to time be referred or assigned to him by the governor. So what is the duty of the Advocate General? It is the duty of him to advise the government of the state upon what all matters like legal matters and perform such other duties of legal character. അപ്പോൾ നിയമപരമായ എല്ലാ മാറ്റേഴ്സും ഡീൽ ചെയ്യുന്ന ആളാരാണ്? ഗവൺമെന്റിന്റെ അഡ്വക്കേറ്റ് ജനറൽ ആണ്. And also its function is to discharge the functions conferred on him by or under the constitution or any other law for the time being in force. അപ്പോൾ ടൈം ടു ടൈം ആയിട്ട് നിയമപരമായ ഗവൺമെന്റുമായി സംബന്ധിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാ കാര്യങ്ങളും ഡീൽ ചെയ്യുന്ന ആളാണ് അഡ്വക്കേറ്റ് ജനറൽ. ആ കാര്യങ്ങളിൽ ഗവൺമെന്റ് അഡ്വൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ആളാണ് അഡ്വക്കേറ്റ് ജനറൽ. The Advocate General shall hold office during the pleasure of the governor and shall receive such remuneration as the governor may determine conduct of government business. So the term of the Advocate General means it is decided by the governor, but usually ഒരു മന്ത്രിസഭ മാറുന്നതനുസരിച്ചിട്ടും ഈ അഡ്വക്കേറ്റ് ജനറലും റിസൈൻ ചെയ്തിട്ട് മാറിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കും. And also the remuneration of the Advocate General is also again determined by the governor. Okay. So this is about the Advocate General. One more topic is Union Territory that we will discuss at the end of the class. Next one is the State Legislature. So State Executive one next one is State Legislature. Part 6 of our constitution deal with the government in the state. So State Legislature on the state government and State Legislature. So it is dealt in the Part 4 of our constitution. Article 168 to Article 212 of the constitution deal with the organization, composition, duration, officers, procedures, privileges, power and so on of the State Legislature. State Legislature is discussing Article 168 to 212, which is in the Part 6 of our Constitution. The State Legislature, the organization. There is no uniformity in the organization of State Legislature because there are two systems of State Legislature followed in the country. So at present, only 7 states. 7 states in the state. Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Jammu and Kashmir is state, okay. Then Karnataka, Maharashtra, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh. These all states are having bicameral system. In such state, the state legislature consists of governor, the state legislative council, and legislative assembly. Now, this is state. Two type of systems are followed in the state legislature. One is legislative council and second one is the legislative assembly. But in other states they have unicameral system which consists of governor and the legislative assembly. So our cases are unicameral system because we are only having the governor and the legislative assembly. Okay, but in some states there will be having bicameral system. Bicameral system is there will be two council. It consists of governor, legislative council, as well as legislative assembly. Okay. Okay. So that is called a bicameral system, and in Kerala we are having a unicameral system. Cameral unicameral system. The Parliament can abolish or create legislative council if the legislative assembly of the concerned state passes a resolution by a special majority. So, this legislative council we can abolish. So that is about the organization. In Kerala we are having unicameral system only, but in some states like there will be a legislative council and legislative assembly. And regarding the composition of the state legislative assembly, the strength of the assembly. The legislative assembly consists of representatives directly elected by the people on the basis of universal adult franchise. Election system based on MLA election. Election members select. Its strength varies from 60 to 500 depending on the population size of the state. Population members in the case of Kerala we are having 140 members. Okay, the strength varies from 60 to 500 depending on the population size of the state. However, in case of certain states, the strength of the legislative assembly is also less than 60. Okay, 60 Then the members in the legislative council, who all will be the members. Nominated members. Actually, the governor can nominate one member from the Anglo-Indian community if the community is not adequately represented in the assembly. So, this community address represent the government governor nominee Anglo-Indian community. Then reservation for SC and STs. The Constitution provides for the reservation of seats for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in the legislative assembly of each state on the basis of population ratio. Again, based on population ratio, in each state there will be certain reserved seats for these SCs and STs. Based on that, that post will be filled by the such candidates only. Okay. Then next one is State Legislative Council. State Legislative Assembly on the Council on, but in Kerala we are only having State Legislative Assembly. The members of the Legislative Council are indirectly elected. So, members of State Legislative Assembly election, but in the members of State Legislative Council are indirectly elected. The details of this we'll be discussing in the next class. One second.